Welcome to Autodoc. Today Q&A, some basic topics. And before we start, friends, we got contest for you. Please see description. There's a full terms and conditions. What we have to do is watch the video from beginning to the end and select any question people asking. You can answer them how many times you like. More answers you're gonna give, bigger chance of winning. So Q&As. So Q&As, I got a list of few questions. First one comes from the video, how to replace a rear suspension arm and rear control arm in Volkswagen Golf Mark V. And the question is, why do we spray copper grease on the nuts and bolts? That's very easy answer, because we just want to prevent corrosion, and another thing, we just want to have easier job on next time when you're gonna do different suspension component. So if we have to remove the new one we just did, it's gonna be very easy. Next question is from the video, how to replace rear springs on Mercedes-Benz tutorial. And the question is, how do we know when it's a spring problem or the shock problem, or not the shock problem? That's very simple. If there's a bad shock on, let's say, on one side, there will be no damping of the spring action. It's gonna be like a bouncy ball, right? That's the job for the shock absorber, and it's the spring which holds the car in the air and sets the level, the height of the car. If we see there's something wrong with the height on one side, that's possible, that's gonna be a spring problem. Next question, should the new shock strut be pulled up and down a few times before installation? When you're buying new shock, it's usually compressed and secured with some kind of strap or wire. We should remove that, pump a few times, so the oil inside can travel between the chambers. There will be full action after a few times, like pumping up and down, and later on the car. So it's a good thing to do before installation, because if we're not gonna do it, we're gonna hit the road. First bump, we can actually damage the shock. Another question comes from the video, how to replace track rod end in BMW E46. And the question is, how do we know the alignment is the same? We can do it by marking the old one and the new one and measuring them to be sure we did everything, that after installation of the track end we're gonna have our wheels straight. But I do recommend going to the nearest garage to do full alignment, because judging by eye is not the best thing to do when we're talking about suspension, steering, brakes and stuff like that. So this is just by setting the car or wheels to get the best position of the steering wheel and wheels. Later we should do full alignment. Another question comes from the video, how to replace rear anti-roll bar link in Mazda 6 tutorial. And the question is, can I do this while the car is on the ramps, or do I need to use a jack in order to get the rear wheels hanging? To do any bar links, or actually the bar, you just need to have the axle, if it's front or rear, lifted, so the wheel's not going to be touching the ground. Because let's say if the one wheel is touching one, the other one is not, we have a tension on the bar and it's very hard to remove the bar link. So the car needs to be lifted, no tension, nothing, we can do the bar links. Another question is challenge for you guys, comes from the video, my video, brake pads and brake disc wear. And the question is, on what intervals do you have to change the brake pads for new? There's no real answer, you have to do it this time or that time, because it all depends on the car, driving style, where you're driving, where you're living, etc, etc. So this question I'm gonna leave it for you guys. Leave us a comment when you're changing, and we can just work out some kind of average for that. Another question comes from the video how to replace front arm on Alfa Romeo 159. The question is, how does one know this needs to be replaced? Usually control arms, if they have ball joints, the ball joint usually fail because, well, time or some kind of rough conditions, let's say, but usually they fail because the rubber boot is going bad, it cracks, and the grease is leaking, so there's no lubrication of the ball joint. The ball joints start to squeak, we can hear some kind of squeaking, and that's first, usually that's the first indication there's something wrong. Later we can hear knocking, and if you're not sure how to check that, you can have a bad, like, let's say steering, let's say we're doing 100 miles per hour, not recommended, and the car is just like pulling from one side to one side, so that's indication there's like a bad ball joint, there's movement, so it's not safe to drive. If you don't know how to check that, go to professional garage, they're gonna check it for you. It's very easy diagnosis, so no point to waiting and hearing the noises, just fix it and be safe. Another question comes from the video how to replace a ball joint in Volkswagen Passat B6, and the question is, I'm gonna read it quickly. Should I pull the ABS sensor from the hub while doing any job? It's not really necessary to do ABS sensor removal when you're doing some kind of ball joints, everything, but if there's a very bad access and there's no access for like leverage on the on your tools, and you're not sure you're gonna be safe with that, you can remove the ABS sensor, but remember, in old cars, in old hubs, when there's like loads of rust, that ABS sensor probably gonna get damaged while removing. So if you want to do that, be prepared that you need to have a new sensor as well. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Remember about that question about wear on the pads, on the intervals. Leave us comments when you're actually changing your pads, and make sure you subscribe and stay for new videos every day. Thank you for watching. See you next time.